want to? You're. I have a problem with my video camera now, but let's do the intro. Here we go. First, I got to get rid of that. Then we can do the intro. Oop. Go back to the beginning. There you go.
That's quite a production.
There, you're back on.
Am I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just turns on and off. I don't know what's going on there.
It's call to action. Whether you like it or not. So thanks for joining us today on Call to Action. Right day after the tax day. And so we thought it might be good to talk about unfiled tax returns.
I find no better time to talk about unfiled tax returns than the day after tax day.
First, let me introduce my my co-host, Jim Leahy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Remember, Open Tax Advocates is the sponsor of the show and also the law office of Stephen A. Leahy. Again, this show, Call to Action. Again, we're going to change around tax matters with attorney Stephen Leahy. But this is about taking a call to action. It's about standing up and answering that call when you have an IRS issue. And today, attorney Stephen Leahy's big theme is what you need to listen to here in 2021.
Oh, it was still on there. Sorry, Jim.
Okay, but let's continue. What's going on? What are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to talk about unfiled tax returns, as I mentioned, and what to do. What should you do if you have unfiled tax returns? Okay, so that's what I want to talk about.
So are we doing like a countdown like Johnny Carson, or are we going to have
I don't think there's 10 things you need to do. So today's call to action, right, is, take some action. File your tax return. So the first thing you should do is file as soon as possible, right? And the reason why you should file as soon as possible is the IRS they assess tax interest and penalties based on how long you're behind. So if you're only a month behind, now it's every month or any portion of the month, right? So it's not by the days. So if you missed on May 17th and you filed May 18th, you're going to pay a month of penalties and interest for, if again, even 1 day late. So get it in as soon as you can to avoid the penalties. Now here, as we're talking about this, what happens if I don't owe anything and they owe me? There aren't any penalties, right? You don't know if you don't owe the IRS and they're based the penalties on what you owe them, well, then there won't be any penalties. The thing is, and I just talked to a client today, and they had just filed for the last couple of years, and they both got both the husband and wife got a big refund both years. And you can go back 3 years to get your tax return. If you wait beyond 3 years, so now 2017 was due in 2018, 3 years later would be 2021. So now if you haven't filed your 2017 tax returns after yesterday and you have a refund due, you're not going to get the refund. Okay, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't file the tax return. Although, again, if you have a refund doing, the IRS doesn't really take there's no penalties involved, even if it's more than 3 years late to file your tax return. The penalty is you don't get the refund. That's the penalty. But you won't pay a penalty unless it's a business tax. There's always an exception to it.
It's the law. There's always some little.
It always says it depends, right? It depends. So we're going to talk. Let's talk a little bit about the penalties, because penalties are due based on, as I mentioned, there's two types of penalties. There's the failure to file penalty, and then there's the failure to pay penalty, right? So if you so again, even if you owe and you file on time, at least you're avoiding the failure to file penalty. You might still pay the penalty, the failure to pay penalty. So what is the fail? When you don't file your tax return by the return date, the extension. So I wanted to talk about the calculation. It's 5% of unpaid tax required to be reported. Okay, so 5%, up to 5%.
Okay.
Reduced by failure to pay penalty. And then again, now there's a percentage based on failure to pay and failure to file. So altogether comes up to, it could go up to 50% of what you owe. You might pay in penalties. Again, then you also pay interest, and interest is assessed against the IRS. Interest is assessed as compounded daily.
So to avoid the penalties, I need to make sure that I file on time, or if I need to file right away. Okay, so those are the two things. I know that I don't like penalties. That's bad.
Nobody does.
Penalties are bad. But also, too, not filing your taxes, that's bad.
It's true.
So we need to take care of those. What's the third thing?
Now, what I wanted to talk about is but there's sometimes you can abate these penalties, and that's what you have to know about. Now, abating penalties isn't always easy. You can do so what they call you have to show reasonable cause, and that's not an easy thing to do. It takes a long time. It's scrutinized by the IRS, and sometimes they'll grant it and sometimes they won't. And there's a lot of reasons that might be a reasonable cause. If you were ill, if you took bad advice from the IRS.
I took bad advice. You better believe I took bad advice from the IRS. I am abating that every time.
Well, that might be a reasonable cause why you didn't pay on time or why you didn't file on time. So, and I've gotten a lot of abatements based on reasonable cause. Now, the other one, and this is the one that most people will fall back on, is what they call a first-time abatement. And the first-time abatement is for people who have always filed on time, at least for the last 3 years, and paid on time. So, hey, IRS, I've been very good. I've always paid my taxes on time. I've always filed on time. And if I can show that, well, then the IRS will abate those penalties. So even if it's a lot of money, I've had tens of thousands of dollars abated because of the first time abatement, and they will abate that. So that's what most people are going to fall back on.
Kind of reminds me of our discussion from yesterday when we were talking about how if you file a Chapter 7, that you can go through a loan modification. Or really, people don't know that this is the same thing too. If the first time abatement, people just go, "Oh my God, I get so scared," and it starts building up and cascading, it starts falling down, and you just go into this snowball effect. And that's what we're trying to avoid here.
I can tell you this: the IRS is not going to voluntarily tell you that there's this abatement for you. You have to ask for it. Right? So they won't. They won't say, "Hey, I know we're penalizing you, but we'll forgive it for you if you just ask me." They won't give you that information. You have to ask. Be proactive. Get out in front and ask. Okay. So then the question becomes, well, what if I have unfiled tax returns for multiple years, many years? Well, again, my first advice is file all of these as soon as you can. Start with the easy one, right? This one just passed. Start there. Start with 2020.
This is awesome because so many people go, okay, well, I will go back to 2013 and I'll do that, and then I'll do this, and then all of a sudden you're just not doing anything.
Exactly. So they go to 2013 and say, I can't find the file I don't know where my W-2 is from 2013. I can't do it from 2000. And so what do? Nothing.
But it makes sense. Right? You want to go in order. You want to just sit there and go, well, 2013, I just have to get this one because I don't want to keep getting penalties on this.
But a lot of people believe that they can't file the new one until they file the old one.
That's another good point.
And it's a fallacy, okay? So you can skip those older ones and file the new one. And that's, there's no penalty. There's penalties, but there's no reason why you can't. And again, one of the things that, success begets success, right? So if you get caught up in 2013 and then you don't file any of them, you get bogged down again. So if I just say, let's just do 2020, and so then you do 2020. Now you can say, oh, now I can work on these others and I feel better about it. And I can motivate me to maybe get back in compliance. Because here's the thing about the IRS. They are more concerned with you getting in compliance with the IRS procedures than anything else. Now, I often say that the IRS is more concerned about you being in compliance than they are about you paying. Doesn't mean they don't want you to pay, but I'll tell you this: they won't let you come up with any agreements unless you're in compliance. So if I haven't filed for 5 years and then I file for a couple of years and it seems like I owe the IRS some money, and I say, hey, can I come up with a payment plan? Here's the answer the IRS will give you: no payment plan until you're in compliance. Well, do you mean they don't want me to pay them? Oh, no, they're going to get paid because they're going to come after your wages. They're going to go after your bank account. They're going to go after your assets. And they're not going to ask you how much they can take. If the IRS has levied your bank account. Now, I have gotten releases, so it does happen. If I can show you, and here's the key word, hardship. Right? So I got to prove to the IRS that they're causing a hardship. Not an easy thing to do. Sometimes, some cases are easier than others, because if it's very bad. Yes.
Can I say that a hardship might be just paying the IRS altogether?
Well, again, paying if they take everything out of my bank account, I could claim that that's a hardship. But I probably can't claim that everything they took is a hardship. Right? Because you can't say it's a hardship to pay my taxes. I'm going to take that back. I can prove that as long as I'm in compliance, as I mentioned, and I can prove to the IRS that they can't, that it would be a hardship for me to make payments to them. This is what they call currently not collectible. That's one of the 6 things we're going to talk about that in the days to come.
There's a theme here.
IRS is a theme.
No, well, that is true. Microphones are a theme because we're talking into them, but no, the theme is compliance.
Well, and again, I think compliance is key. It really is key.
I mean, that's what you've said all along. How long have we been doing the radio show where you're like, hey, guys, listen, compliance is key to fixing this issue, to solving this IRS issue. If you don't have that one secret ingredient, well, then you can't make the pie. It's
true that I always tell people that the secret to solving IRS problems, if there is one secret, it's compliance. And maybe we could do a whole show about compliance and what that is, what that means, what that looks like, and then how you can take action and get in compliance.
Well, how about this? You have a little minute to kind of break down maybe half of it and then tease for the next episode. We can talk about
there's a bunch of different compliance, right? You have tax compliance, you have payment compliance. And there's other kinds of compliance, and that's why it gets kind of complicated. One thing you got to know about the IRS, right? Everything is broken down. The statutory rules, but they don't always, right? Sometimes they break them down and they make it easier for the revenue officers and those others. So lawyers generally are, the statute takes precedent over the manual. So if I could show, hey, the law says this, but the manual is wrong. Now, I haven't said that. The manual is generally correct, okay? And you have to follow the manual in order to solve these problems. But in many cases, again, especially when things get a little tricky, this is when you appeal based on the statute. One was the state of Illinois, and I settled for $10 for well over $100,000. One was the state of Illinois, and I settled for $10 for well over $100,000 in liability. Equity out of their home, so we protected their home and the one asset that they still had. It's not always easy to do.
Sitting here watching this, can I come to your office and see these plaques? Is there a way that I could just see that you've done it? Or
well, absolutely. I think first you should visit my office if you want for a consultation. Now we do these virtual consultations, just like here we're doing on online today, or you can come in the office. We're here in Bannockburn. We just moved out of downtown Chicago, so you don't have to worry about all the traffic and the parking and all that. Lots of parking here. We're right off the expressway, actually right off of 41 and the expressway. So we're right in between, and it's easy to get to us. Give us a call at 312-664-6649. Again, that number is 312-664-6649. We'd love to have you come visit our office. I'd like to show you. So,
Yeah. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, again, this we're done here, right?
We're finished.
We've went through again, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any of these issues, if you have just the IRS just bearing down your neck, just breathing down, and you can't get a night's sleep, and you can't operate your business to what it used to be, because I love that analogy you always use, and I actually use that today. You're a pie maker. Right? You're so good at making pies, but you're not good at the paperwork. All of a sudden, the paperwork falls behind, and you're not focusing on making those awesome pies. Well, it's time to start making those pies again. That's why it's so important to call Open Tax Advocates. Again, we're going to give the phone number one more time at 31.
So they say, I'll give you a testimonial, Steve. I'll sit in front of the camera.
Really? That is so cool.
Yeah. So and again, if you go to fullfinancialrecovery.com, you'll see an interview we did with a past client, and he gives us a testimonial on video,
cool.
And he's very happy to do it. And so but I'm very proud of the videos that we have, or the reviews that we have online. So I always tell people, Google me. You'll see what's out there. And before you hire anybody, make sure that you do all your research and find out. Now, a lot of people that hire me have heard me on the radio, or they've seen me on another show, but I still tell them, Google me, because I'm very proud of the reviews, and I want you to see them before you come in.
Yeah, I just don't want those to go passing. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up here, make sure that you like this video. You share it with your sphere, especially anybody that because everybody knows that one person. It's like, you know what? They're kind of having a tough time. Yeah, I get it might be a little embarrassing, but don't be embarrassed. There's a call out there. Answer it. Call to action.
Call to action is correct.
So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in. Open Tax Advocates is there for you. We will be here tomorrow talking about more issues. I'm not going to be here. Attorney Stephen Leahy will be here, and I'll be here Thursday, kind of wrapping up what we spoke about all week, having a great time. I love Thursdays because we just sit around and have a good time. And then also, too, check us every Saturday and Sunday. Saturday at 7, Sunday at 5 on AM 560. The Answer. For our radio shows. Mm-hmm. I think that's it. Attorney Stephen Leahy, this one's in the books.
Let's do the exits. Why isn't it exiting? There it goes.
I ask that myself. I ask that all the time.
That's why that is. Come on.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Help me out here. There it is. There it is. I'm still learning.
That's okay. It's not playing. Oh, now it is. Instead of that, we should do the tax time with Attorney Stephen Leahy.
That's coming.
Big fan.
I like the train.